Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the launch event of our Marketing Confidence. Thank you all for being here tonight. It says a lot about you wanting to boost your careers in marketing. I know a few salespeople here as well. So thank you very much. We have a treat for you tonight. We have 4 amazing marketing leaders in their field, and they are going to each speak to you for about 15 minutes with some slides as well, giving some of their insights, tips, and secrets to success for you in marketing. So without further ado, he doesn't need an introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. Please welcome James Ski, wherever he is.
Thanks very much. Sorry if I'm more anxious than usual. Usually we do this with salespeople and sales leaders, and they kind of get me a little bit. If I'm offensive anyway, do DM me on LinkedIn tomorrow. Be kind. Just want to thank Bianca and the team at Paddle. Just going to invite her up. She and her team host events here regularly, and they always put on a good show. So I just wanted to thank her, and she's got a couple of things to plug. Bianca, do you want to come and say hello?
Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to host you all tonight in our lovely office at Paddle. Paddle is a SaaS commerce platform. We integrate checkout, subscription billing, taxes, and more. So if you want to know more about Paddle and what we do, come find me in the networking bit afterwards. We're actually hiring for a head of product marketing. So if any of you are interested, I'm here to poach some people. Paddle.com/careers. I can attest it's a great place to work, and you'll be working alongside me. So,
great.
Yeah, why not? All right. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Cheers. So I just thought before we invite the first speaker up, just give you a little bit of the backstory, just to help connect the dots of what we're trying to do, at least here in London, and with the marketing leaders that are in the room. So just the backstory. I used to work for a company called LinkedIn. See, that at sales, that would have went down so well. Sorry. I'm going to try some new ones. So I used to work at LinkedIn, and when we were at LinkedIn, we decided that we want to kind of service the needs of salespeople and sales leaders. And so the idea and the concept I believe in is everything starts with an event. You know, an event launches products, an event launches businesses, an event launches new relationships. That's dating. No, this is a tough one. All right. So what happened was, though, we agreed to organise the event at LinkedIn, and 24 hours before the very first event, LinkedIn shut it down and didn't let me host at their office. So within 24 hours, we had to book a new venue. What I didn't know when I got to the venue is that there was drilling going outside of it. So if you look at the very first event and you watch our videos on YouTube, there's literally just speakers and then drilling. So that was our very first sales event. Now, fast forward 3 years, we've got the largest community of sales leaders in the UK and Europe, and we've got amazing partnerships, some of them here tonight and also speaking. But what was happening is we kept running these events, and the marketing leaders kept coming and saying, hold on a minute, like, we make the sales leaders look good. And I thought, that's true. Like, there is no success in sales without marketing. Like, it's the fundamental driver. We often talk about, like, maybe if in our case, the sales is the heart, the brain is marketing. It's the brain actually behind the mechanism of driving growth in a company that you're really making a difference. So that's why we felt, well, actually, there is an opportunity to champion marketing leaders and also help you help the sales leader. So to connect the dots, we run Sales Confidence, but we also run Europe's #1 B2B sales revenue and marketing leadership conference. And I was just curious in the room, for those of you who consider yourself a marketing leader, can you just put your hand up? Marketing leaders? Okay. Put your hand down. When I say revenue leader, put your hand up if you consider yourself a revenue leader. Okay. So I'm just trying, Eric, you might be able to help us. We've flown in Eric from Atlanta, first class. That wasn't true. But in the US anyway, and I spend a lot of time in the Valley, revenue is really the collective alignment between marketing and sales, and the outcome is, revenue and growth. So actually, from our perspective, sales needs to listen more to marketing, and there needs to be more collaboration and alignment between marketing and sales, but ultimately marketing is driving the success of sales leaders. So at our conference, we expect that 20% of the audience will be marketing leaders, and then we're also this year for the first time going to have a marketing track. So if you're sitting there like, oh, Eric was quite good, Lucy was good, but I want to speak, come and speak to us, myself, Claire or Daisy, because we'd love to invite you to speak. You guys are the very first. You're the early adopters. That's my favourite crowd. As this grows in London, we're not particularly going to launch Marketing Confidence globally yet, but to start with, you will always be the very first, and I appreciate you giving up a Wednesday night to come and hear from our speakers. So thank you. Now the speakers, and this is the best part, this is what you're for. So we've got 4 incredible speakers this evening. We're going to kick off. They get 15 minutes, they get slides, so feel free to take photos, feel free to live stream, TikTok, Snapchat if that's still interesting, and tweet. That's a wrap from me. So we're going to have a round of applause for Lucy Hudson, who's an incredible leader at Xactly. Round of applause, let's go. You're up. Yeah, you've got a clicker.
I'm going to fail the first hurdle now, aren't I?
Should you do the mic?
Yeah,
The
I think
microphone-
maybe a mic. Yeah, I think so. So thank you, James. I was on a flight back from Denver a few weeks ago, and I got a little tweet, not a tweet, a WhatsApp. Was it LinkedIn? Was it WhatsApp? From James saying, I'm thinking about doing this event, and would you be a speaker? And I was like, I'd had a glass of wine, I was about to take off. I was like, yeah, let me know what sort of topic, and I'll think about it. I land. He's got it on LinkedIn. Lucy Hudson is speaking at this event. I was like, well, thanks for that. So I had a little think about the topic that I thought I would like to speak to you about, which is basically how do you market to the enterprise segment when you're a company that basically no one's ever heard of? Enterprise level businesses tend to buy from enterprise level companies. And in our space, we're very well known, but our biggest competitor is Excel. So I am marketing director at Xactly. We are a sales performance management solution. Majority of companies still use Excel to manage their sales team commissions and sales planning. And so our biggest challenge is replacing essentially what's a free tool with something that's going to cost some money. However, the money that it's going to cost way is trumped by the amount of benefit that businesses will get from our tool. So that's the tiny bit of sales pitch that I'm going to do. The rest of it, I'm not barely going to mention Xactly. So this is me. Hate that picture. Let's move on quickly. I'm going to talk about getting creative with the enterprise market. So we all know in the SaaS industry that it's all about demand gen, creating demand at the top of the funnel. However, when you're trying to penetrate, are we allowed to use that word in a corporate environment? When you're trying to penetrate the enterprise market, it's not just about lead generation right at the top of the funnel. It's about talking to them and engaging them all the way down through to the day that they close the deal, the day that the deal is sealed. So I was going to talk to you about 3 case studies in my career, not just at Xactly. So let's have a little look. So just to give you some context, obviously when you're marketing to the enterprise segment, you need to have a big digital footprint. So that's not just having a good website. That's not just launching a website and doing a really good job at the time. It's constantly evolving, constantly adding digital content, building up content syndication with third parties, getting your reviews on LinkedIn, on Glassdoor, getting your reviews on G2, engaging with third parties to encourage them to do link sharing with you, etc., etc. It's also all about standing on the shoulder of giants. I use that phrase to mean channel partnerships. Solutions partners are a massive, massive deal for many of us in the room for SaaS partners. It's about your network. It's about building relationships with people who are going to bolster you, are going to be a brand advocate for you. And it's also about getting creative. Now, we're not marketing sexy products. I kind of think it's really sexy. I've been in SaaS marketing for 15 years. But we're not marketing Jimmy Choo shoes or sexy holidays. We're marketing technology. And, you know, some people think that perhaps technology isn't the sexiest space to be in. I love it, but I'm going to prove you wrong, or not prove you, because you're all tech marketers, but I'm going to prove the general audience outside of the tech world wrong, in that you can really get creative with marketing in a tech world. So to start with, I can't really name names, but if you Google it, you'll probably be able to find it straight away. We work with a big technology giant. They were our first ever customer. They remain a customer today, and they are our biggest brand advocate and partner in our space. I was given the task by my CMO to get in bed with them, not literally, metaphorically, but get in bed with them because their audience, everybody that's this technology partner's client is a target audience for us. Go get in bed with them. And I was like, well, that's a good objective. Let's try and get a bit creative. So what we did was we created the Better Together campaign. Now, what that was I asked my sales AEs to pull together top target 25 accounts that we knew were existing clients of this technology partner. I then got in touch with each of the AEs at this technology partner that own these clients, and I sent them a gin and tonic. Gin and tonic saying Xactly plus this partner are better together. Like a nice cold gin and tonic on a cold day, we're best served together. We want to get in bed with your client, again, metaphorically, and this is what we're planning to do, and we'd love an introduction. So we then sent the top 25 target accounts. Now, they were across all industries, a truly personalised piece of marketing literature. We pulled off their annual reports. We pulled off their logos. We pulled off quotes from their chairman and their CEO. We pulled together flyers that said, your CEO said this, your results this year were that, your key objectives for this financial year are this, and this is how we, as a technology solutions partner and a key strategic partner to this big technology firm, this is how we can support your business. We then sent that with a gift. So we sent that with, so the tailored leaflet, it was sent with a gift tag that had their logo on it so that when it landed, they opened it up, it had their logo on there. It had a tailored piece of a gift with that as well. It had a persona piece of thought leadership. So if it was a CFO, it was a CFO, the top 3 key issues affecting the modern CFO, along with the flyer that says, we know that you partner with this company, we do too, and this is why we're your ideal partner. With that, we penetrated 25 accounts. We got 10 FSIs, which for those of you that are new to the space, first sales interaction, so that's meetings. We've got 5 opportunities in play, and we've got 2 enterprise deals that have closed 1 as a result. So bit of a win, bit of a gamble, but we did pretty well. Now, obviously, I said at the start, enterprise marketing isn't just the lead generation at the top of the funnel. It's talking to them the whole way through the journey. So the next case study is with a major UK airline. And what we did was we had a sales AE come to us and say, I've just discovered that they're already halfway through the RFP process. We didn't know that they were going through this procurement process of getting a new SPM supplier, getting this new supplier on board. How can we get in bed with them? And so let me just say, they were already talking to a key competitor. So we tried to think, okay, we've got a shoehorn in the RFP at the late stage, so we don't need to do any demand generation, but we do need to kind of engage them and work out what we can do to sort of stand out from the noise. So we walked around the office with a camera, a bit like this one here. We filmed 10 people that would be involved in the account, from customer success to professional services to the account management team to project management, and we got them to write on the board what working with this airline would mean to them, why they wanted to work with them. We then spliced it in with the well-known music of this airline and some of their back-of-the-seat safety video footage, because this wasn't going outside, it was just an internal story. And when they came in for the first ever meeting, we just played this at the start. This is why we want to work with you. And absolutely not taking credit for the deal closing, but the deal did close. And one of the reasons why they said the deal closed was because they said that the personality fit. The technology was very similar. We could all do very similar things, but they wanted to work with someone that they really enjoyed working with. And the personality fit for them was what made us stand out from the crowd. How long have I got? I'm going to carry on. The final, we're good. I'm sort of rattling through it. I don't know. I need to play this video because the video is the best bit. Awesome. So the final case study I was going to share with you is at that very final deal stage. So we're down to the last 2, and we're just battling it out now with the final 2. This was with a large pharmaceutical company, hence the random photo behind there. Large pharmaceutical company, and again, this is where sales and marketing were really hand in hand. The AE didn't have to come to me and say, how can you help me? Because he'd already gone all the way down the sales process. But he came to me and said, we need to stand out. We need to try and do something that's going to make them buy from us tomorrow. We need the deal signed. I've been working on this deal for almost 2 years, and I kind of need as much help as I can get from you. So it was decision time, and we needed to, I hate that expression, but I couldn't think of anything else. We needed to think outside of the box. So my team and I sat down together and brainstormed how we could make the final meeting special. We'd done the video. We didn't have time to do another video. So we pulled off their top brand lines, and we got quite a hefty expenses budget. And we went and we bought a shitload of the products. And we got some shelving from other parts of the office that we pilfered for the boardroom, and we filled the length of the boardroom with their products. We then stuck a raffle ticket on every single one of the products. We got every single member of staff to buy a strip of raffle tickets. We made them cough up before the meeting, and when this large pharmaceutical company walked into the boardroom, they were quite amused at the fact that we'd gone to the efforts of filling the boardroom with all of their products, but they were like, what's with the raffle tickets? And we said to them, look, we've enjoyed the process, we've worked really hard with you, we feel that we're the right fit, but whatever happens, we've loved learning and growing with you, and we'd like to donate the proceeds of the raffle to your charity of the year. And again, we closed the deal. I'm not saying that that's what made it, but again, it was that personality fit and the effort and going the extra mile that made them, want to choose us as their technology provider. Finally, how long have we got? As long as I've got a minute and a half, Dave Grohl. Who wouldn't want to finish a presentation in a corporate environment with a picture of Dave Grohl? The context here is, and let me just caveat this with, the reason of bringing this up is nothing to do with me. This is someone else's plan altogether that I'm mercilessly stealing to make my presentation end on a high. But Dave Grohl, he was asked by a group of people in a very small Italian town to go and play in their town. They'd never had a big band play, and it was the brainchild of a chap based in this teeny town called Cesana in Italy, and he wanted Dave Grohl to come and play with the Foo Fighters. So he got 1,000 Italian musicians to come and sing Learn to Fly. And he got wind of this after it went viral. What he did was he was sent the video, he recorded a reply on Twitter, sent it to this chap saying, anyone Italian in the room, don't judge me. Oh, hang on. I don't want to. There you go. Sorry, I went a bit too far. Oh, blimey. This is good, isn't it? Right, hang on. This is the Wi-Fi. This is what it's like in the WeWork that I work at. I was trying to practice this today. Right, let's just go through. So this was a big pharmaceutical company that we got in front of. Right, hang on. All right. If I go too far again, I'm going to cry. But I've got time on my side, apparently. And the video is 1 minute, 10 seconds. Right. Am I going to go too far now? Here we are. He said, "Si vendiamo a presto, Cesana," which means, Cesana, I'm coming to see you soon. And true to his word, 5 months later, he played a 27-song Foo Fighter set with his entire band in this teeny tiny town population, 97,000. So I think my final slide I'll just do now. The moral of the story is, if you want to get in front of people and you're an unknown entity, you need to take a risk and you need to get creative. Let's see whether this video works now with the Wi-Fi. Over to you, James.
Round of applause. our very first marketing confidence speaker, Lucy. Let's have another round of applause. That's not easy. Thank you, Lucy. Just to say also, to put this out there, we are looking for a face to marketing confidence, for it not to be mine. So if you're also sitting thinking that, oh yeah, I'd like to do that, then do also get in touch, because that's one of the tasks this year, to have someone run marketing confidence as well. We're also hiring for a marketing director. Next speaker. So our next speaker, actually this is a nice story, because before LinkedIn I had a chance to help an e-commerce startup, at the time based in a basement in central London, called Ometria. And since that time, that's now gone on to be one of the most successful e-commerce SaaS business in Europe, raised multiple rounds. And at that time, Hannah was... you were content, weren't you? And during those years, fast forward, at the moment she's now acting a marketing lead at Ometria, responsible for brand and content, and she's doing some amazing things. So a round of applause for Hannah Stacey from Ometria. Thank you.
Oh no. If you're TikToking this, I'm really sorry. Amazing. Cool. Has anyone here heard of Neville Longbottom? You know, the guy from Harry Potter, he's Gryffindor. He's got a pet frog, toad, called Trevor? No, you're not that Harry Potter geeky. Okay, cool. So, yeah, you might be aware of Neville Longbottom as a person, as a proper noun. But you might not be aware of Neville Longbottom, the verb, to Neville Longbottom, the act of Neville Longbottoming, which essentially means casting aside the awkward gawkiness of adolescence and blossoming into, oh, sorry, this is a nightmare, and blossoming into to a less awkward, gawky adult, should we put it that way? And anyone can Neville Longbottom. It's not just Neville Longbottom. Any individual can kind of cast aside that awkwardness of adolescence and grow into an adult who's got their act together. And I think that counts for businesses too, right? Especially if you're in between those stages of like startup and scale up, there comes a time to get your act together. But in this sense, Neville Longbottoming as a person is a kind of natural process, whereas Neville Longbottoming as a business is a decision and a real process that you have to go through. So I want to talk to you today about the kind of 6-step Neville Longbottoming rebrand process that we've just been through. We've learned so many lessons along the way that I think are really repeatable for other businesses. So hopefully this will be helpful if you ever decide to go down the path of a rebrand. Oh, sorry, my fonts didn't come through. That's a bit embarrassing for a rebrand presentation. But anyway, the minus one question you need to ask is, do you even need to rebrand in the first place? For us, it became blindingly obvious. This is us, and these are our 3 competitors. And people in our space just seem to develop this. Oh, am I out of time already? Develop this penchant for like purple to blue gradients and vector images and these kind of splodgy things. And market differentiation was a really big deal for us. So yeah, for us, that was the moment when we realized that we needed to go through this rebrand. But there are more. The first is you look like everyone else. The second is that like your brand identity just doesn't feel right. It doesn't reflect you as a company. The third is that it's out of date. I mean, I've got to be honest, our old logo looked like it had stepped out of the 80s. There's also this issue of brand consistency, and if it turns out that you find out your sales team is sending out sales decks that look completely different to your website, that look completely different to your customer success pitch decks, then that's probably a sign that you need to take action. And the last one, it might not be the main reason, but if you're going on a hiring spree, really thinking about your brand identity can get people excited. The main thing we learnt along the way is it's not about you. It's not about the look that you want to go for, even though like a rebrand is a really exciting project. It's not about the colours that your boss likes. It's not about the fonts that you like. Like, it's really important to go through a proper process here. So this is what we did. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. It's just stuck on this GIF guy. Back one. Should I point it at the laptop instead? Will that help? This one. Woo. Oh, God, no, we're back on this guy again. We know it's not about us now. That one, yeah. Yeah, that would be great. Call me. Are we good now? Yeah, we're good. Oh, we've just minimized it. The first thing to think about is your company goals and vision. So your vision should be long-term, but perhaps you're working on some shorter-term goals. For us, we work on an OKR system, and we had a couple of OKRs that were about positioning us as market leaders. So that was all about differentiation and also about being the most innovative solution on the market, and that has clear kind of implications for how your visual identity might look. There are some others like growth, kind of creating a buzz around yourself, customer happiness, like making your customers feel part of something cool and exciting, and the same goes for staff happiness. Like, honestly, it's made a complete difference to the office, like this rebrand. It's been really kind of palpable. The second thing to think about is your company values. Most startups have values these days. We've got a 193-slide culture deck, so we take it pretty seriously, yeah. And like, these might be less easy to translate into your visual identity, but it's still super important that whoever's doing this design work for you knows that this is at the heart of everything that you do as a business. Oh my God. Okay, cool. Perhaps the most important part of the process that we went through was customer research. So I think as a bare minimum, it's important to talk to at least 10 customers, and these need to be your best customers as well. They need to fit your ideal customer profile, because that's the direction that you want your business to go in. And when we were conducting these interviews, we asked them 3 big questions. The first is going back to the very beginning and asking them why they bought us, because we want that to be repeatable. What was it about Ometria in this case that made us different and that made you choose us? The second is why you love us now. What is it about us that makes us great to work with? And the last, and this is probably the most important, is that do you think that our current brand represents what you know about us now? And the outcome of these interviews was pretty cutting, to be honest. One of our clients said that I feel like your current visual identity does you a disservice. People only realise you're great once they've met you, which is pretty harsh, but also really useful. Oh, whoops. Someone else said, I don't think your current identity shows that you're forward-thinking and you're friendly and you're fun. And those elements, that friendliness, that fun, is something that you can definitely kind of transfer forwards into a visual identity. The fourth thing we did, and I can recommend that anyone do this, is the Google Ventures 3-hour brand sprint. There's a blog post about it online. If you Google that, like, it'll come straight up. And basically, this brings together a bunch of senior stakeholders from all over the business. And it's a series of exercises that I think you spend about 15 minutes on each of them that really kind of distill what you as a brand are. You set out a 20-year roadmap. You talk about the what, why, and how of what you're doing. You think about company values and audiences. But most importantly, you do this exercise that's around personality sliders. And actually, the output of this was so useful in our rebrand because it causes you to think about how all of these different characteristics play off. And this was so useful to give to our design partner and direct him. The last thing is find the right design partner. We found this guy called Ed. The reason why we picked a design partner rather than me doing this myself is self-evident because I tried to cut around him and completely failed. But yeah, like I could do a whole talk about finding the right design partner to do a rebrand, but I think you can really distill it into a few pointers. The first is finding someone with a portfolio that kind of matches what you're looking to do, and awards and Dribbble really good places to start for that. The next is someone with good project management skills. It's likely you're going to have to be answering into possibly the SMT on this project, so you need someone who's organised and able to stick to deadlines. Thirdly, you need someone who's excited by your brief, and all of those stages before make up that brief to them and research. And then you also need to set out clear deliverables in this. So like when you're talking about brand, it can seem a little bit kind of warm and fluffy, but what we agreed on was that we'd be delivered a kind of brand Bible that set out our entire brand from colours to fonts to logo to illustration styles, etc., etc. And lastly, if it all works out, hire them. This guy's going to come on board next month as our creative director and be in charge of the brand identity going forward. The last stage is rolling it out. And this is a time to be really organised because if you're anything like our business, there are so many bits of collateral all over the business that people are creating on a daily basis, creating the kind of document apocalypse. So what we did was speak to each department, figure out what they were sending out into the world, and then prioritise it. My biggest bit of advice is create as many templates as possible and we transfer them all into Google Slides and Google Docs because then your business can start creating stuff that's in this new image. And here are some examples of how it turned out. We completely overdid our we did our website. We transferred this across our entire content marketing, and this pattern is everywhere now. We call it the hipster onion. We have jazzy watermelons too, which sounds a bit dodgy. And then we brought it into our office too. Oh, yeah. Hey, Eric. I'm so sorry. Technology. Yeah, we brought it into our office too because it was really important to get the team excited about this new brand. So, and like, it's not that hard to do. You can get like wall transfers and that kind of thing and across all of our collateral. So, thank you for listening. I hope you find this useful if you ever make the decision to Neville Longbottom for yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you for the patience and bearing with the slides. That was a huge amount of insight, and we're definitely going to get our team to speak to you. So our next speaker, as I mentioned, has flown over from Atlanta, Eric's a good champion and great supporter of what we're doing with sales confidence. SalesLoft is the world's leading #1 sales engagement platform, and Eric is now their VP of demand generation. And I think it's great to hear a perspective from someone that's kind of building a global marketing function and also responsible for the US. So Eric, round of applause and thank you for being here.
Thanks, buddy. There's a heavily photoshopped image of me, so real, not real. And I'm almost excited to ride this crazy slide train that we're on right now. You can see how the marketing team always has a little bit of a role in creating those slide decks for sales. I'm going to guess my font is Arial. There we go. All right. Excellent. I'm going to have the most, look at this beautiful stock photography, these two very genuine individuals having an amazing time doing something, both looking pretty smart. I'm going to talk about finding sales alignment success and aligning with sales in a proper way that really allows you to genuinely create value for folks. And I think my presentation is probably the least sophisticated, which hopefully will serve me well. Click. There we go. A little bit about me. I joined SalesLoft in September 2016, about 3.5 years ago. I was employee 90. Now we're about employee 460-ish. And so I walked into a young and vibrant marketing team focused on traditional bread and butter marketing. I walked in, there's hip hop on the radio, they're scootering around, vining, boomeranging, Instagramming, all that good stuff. Really a great team. Leads weren't a problem. We are blessed with great product market fit. Our product leaders and our founders have created something really special that has really taken hold and really helped to create a category. We had a lot of high inbound lead flow. So hey, I'll just check in, say hello, and go home. No, it was pretty easy walking into it. That's what I thought at first. But eventually, what I realized was my job was not to come in here and just generate a few more leads. It was to help us move up market. How are we going to take a business that is primarily for emerging small companies and make it more attractive to mid-market companies in the enterprise? And going into the enterprise means going into account-based. And for those that aren't familiar with account-based marketing, it's basically the concept of you're not marketing to get a lead, you're marketing to engage with an account and all the different leads that are within that account. Pretty simple concept. One of the ways that I've survived at SalesLoft is because we have incredible core values. We don't have 100, that's impressive. 193 slides was that? Wow. We have one page on our website, but either way, they're very powerful and they've helped us to scale all along. Aligning closely with sales basically helps marketers waste less money. That's something that's really important to me. And the reality is that marketers are always going to waste money. You ever heard of a test? Testing an A/B test? Half of that A/B test doesn't work, and 60% of the other B part of the test may not work as well, but that learning is going to take you a lot further in the process. So it's not about, and there used to be my little Twitter handle, Eric J. Martin, all in one word next to that little Twitter bird, if you're curious why that's there. It's about building an account-based revenue org, not just ABM. So I don't say ABM a lot. I just say account-based. It's about building a cooperative environment where sales and marketing work together to engage with the critical personas of their accounts in order to generate opportunities. Brief history here. It was a it's good times. Multi-year labor of love and consistent realignment. Sounds fun, right? Started in September 2016. What I did when I came to the company was do something that nobody really had thought of doing, was actually do an analysis of how big is our market. The CEO came to me and said, well, Eric, how are we going to go from being where we are right now to being a billion-dollar valuation company, which every startup basically lusts after. Completed that analysis, and what that does is that teaches you the accounts to go after. So then you select your accounts. You select the accounts with sales, which is probably the most contentious part of the process. Sales has been extremely successful at SalesLoft. They've been crushing it, closing a lot of deals, and I walk in and I'm like the guy with the spreadsheets and like, hey, I think you need to go over there. And they're like, get out of here. So that's initially how it was anyway. And that is obviously one of the most challenging parts. But either way, launched our commercial team. When our enterprise team launched them and deployed those accounts to them with cooperation for them, we launched our first buyer's journey campaign, which is a really an example. I think I have a couple slides that'll show you that, just a couple of examples of marketing actually one-to-one helping sales directly with deals, much like the earlier presentation from Lucy. Once you get big, you have to go beyond just that initial small list of accounts. So initially we had like 2,000 accounts, now we have more like 30,000. So, as you grow and you scale, you need to meet the needs of your business. And now we're working on things like customer expansion and honestly going back and optimizing that good old-fashioned inbound funnel, leads, converting into opportunities, optimizing your conversion rates, all that good stuff. How do we find success? There's the traditional way of doing account-based marketing, as you may have seen it out in the market today, is you select your accounts, you run a campaign, you measure the ROI, and then you iterate slowly. So that's the absolute traditional approach. But at SalesLoft, nothing really starts truly with marketing. One of my favorite sayings that our CEO has said is that the only reason someone comes inbound is because outbound didn't get to them first. And that's been the mentality of SalesLoft. We're absolutely tenacious with going after the market and delivering value and an excellent customer experience from the very beginning of you seeing our logo or seeing a message. So what did we do? We sized the market with that total addressable analysis. We aligned on the accounts and tiering. That's the hard part. It's a lot easier than just that number 2 dot there. And then, this is the different approach, is we actually focused on activating SDRs. So concentrating on how marketing as a function can fuel the SDR outbound engine to generate more opportunities. And then fueling that with orchestration, creating campaigns, and using tactics that follow everyone through the funnel, not just converting to the opportunity, saying, we're done, and then moving on. Again, aerial strikes again. This is an example, basic kind of software as a service tiering structure for account-based marketing. And follow me at the bottom, starting down with that tier 3. This is that tier 3, that 70% of your account list is going to be those basic characteristics of your ICP that you pretty much can bet are really helpful and useful. They're going to be aligned with those findings from the total addressable market analysis. This is the size of the company in the specific geography that you're working in the specific industry that you want to work with. So that's 70% of your list. You go up into that second tier, and that's that tier 3 qualified characteristics. Plus, for us, it's really helpful to getting value out of SalesLoft if you have Salesforce. So identifying those critical kind of technographic dependencies that you might have, especially in a SaaS world. Or a marketing automation system is very common for a lot of MarTech providers to integrate with. So that's your tier 2. That's about 20% of your list. And when you go up to tier 1, that's when you get the CEO, the heads of sales in the room, and you pick the accounts that really matter. And this is where you spend more money per account than any other tier account. So if you look at the left there, you've got your 2 levers, resources and personalization. The higher you go up on the account list, the more resources you dedicate to it, and the more personalization you dedicate to those campaigns. So while we might be looking at a genericized, your typical persona-based marketing campaign for tier 3, you get to tier 2, then you might say, hey, I see that you're in this industry, but I also see that you may be using Salesforce, and you may be using Pardot or Marketo. And we work and integrate really well with those. But tier 1, you're talking one-to-one to that account. You're talking about their mission, their vision, and their values, and how you can apply not only to what they sell and to what they market, but to how they want to grow as a company. So this is how we fuel the sales engine. If you look at the left-hand side of the screen, you could start with product marketing. Product marketing creates that total addressable market analysis and that persona-based messaging that helps you basically fuel content creation throughout the process. Once you nail down who you're talking to, you know what to say. Once you have that total addressable market and persona messaging nailed down, that goes over to our communications and creative team. What do? We know who to talk to. We know what to say to them. Now it's time to create content, ebooks, blog posts, case studies, videos, all that good stuff. That's the output of the communication and creative team. The content comes over to me in demand gen while I'm sitting in Salesforce and spreadsheeting all day. And what we do is we take that content, we use, and we put it into persona-based cadences. And if you're not familiar with what a cadence is a sequence of sales activities that are used to basically execute a sales process. So persona-based cadences and lead generation, demand gen, we still have to generate leads. That's really important. We can't stop doing that. But basically contextualizing that content for the right personas. We put that into SalesLoft. In SalesLoft, what happens there is your XDR, XDR meaning ADR, BDR, SDR, MDR, whatever you might have in your organization. We arm them with those persona-based cadences that deliver the content to the viewer, the reader, in a more contextualized manner. It boosts your conversion rates and your reply rates, period. It does. We've got a study on it. I even did a talk at a previous sales confidence event about it. Personalization in emails can increase your reply and conversion rates by up to 40%. And that's on a study of, I think, 200 million sales interactions. So there's a lot you can do with that. What happens when you go into that process, the ADR, the BDR, the MDR, the whatever DR you might have, they're going through that prospecting process. It either gets qualified and goes over to your closers, your AE, your SE, your whatever E you might have. What doesn't come through goes into the closed process, and what goes into nurture, you might not get a response. Then, after you've tried to do that one-to-one communication with someone, if the salesperson can't connect, then marketing's got to take over. And that's when that nurture takes over in your marketing automation system. What do we do throughout the funnel? Basically, these are, and I don't know if anyone's heard of Topo. They're a really smart SaaS research and advisory firm that we've partnered with for many years out of San Francisco. Our funnel's more like a bow tie than a funnel. You start over with demand gen, pulling the leads in, direct mail, webinars, targeted advertising, bread and butter marketing stuff. Pipeline velocity campaigns. This is where account-based really hits it. Doing one-to-one ads and landing pages, and I'll show you a couple examples of that. Custom on-sites, partnering specifically with the enterprise team to create a day that's really focused on unlocking the value of what you're trying to deliver to the customer. And also field events. Field marketing is an incredible tool for mid-market and enterprise. So we've really been focusing a lot of our tactics there. Closing and adoption support, we've done some fun stuff there. This is usually when marketing steps back a little bit and we let salespeople do their job. But there's opportunities where we can get pulled in and actually help add some value in that process. For example, one of the things we did was we had a really fancy headset pilot test. So if you have a team of 20 or 30 salespeople and you're trying to, we're trying to pilot SalesLoft to them, we would say, okay, who's going to schedule the most appointments? Who's going to convert the most opportunities? You get a fancy $300-400 Jabra headset or something like that. You'll be the talk of the town on the SDR floor. It sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it goes a long way when you're trying to generate a great experience for your customers. Talking SalesLoft on SalesLoft. So what have we done to be most effective when we're trying to go to market? And renewals and expansion. This is an area where we are, developing the most. Admittedly, we've got a lot further we can do with this. We've seen excellent strides. We just started a new customer marketing team. We're really excited to be working on certifications, reference gathering, training, and SalesLoft events to help increase adoption. This is an example of just a couple screens of what we have for multi-channel programs. We did a direct mail piece about a customer journey. Where does SalesLoft fit in the customer journey? Because sales engagement as a concept is so incredibly new to the market. So we wanted to say, well, everyone knows where marketing automation fits and CRM fits, but where does sales engagement fit? So a direct mail piece that's sent to them, prospects going into a cadence. We had actually note writing parties. We brought in 1,000 pizzas and got all the SDR team, fed them all lunch and said, hey, we'll give you all lunch. Just write a few note cards out that are personalized to your specific prospects. We've got the list put together. It's all good. Then when the person actually goes to that landing page, the dynamic content that shows their account is actually inserted onto the landing page. So they feel more, they feel like you've done a little bit of extra effort to reach out to them. And the really engaged prospects and the big ones, we send them premium gifts. One of the solutions that I love to talk about that we've seen a lot of success with is a solution called Alyce, A-L-Y-C-E. It's a product that is unfortunately not available in the UK yet, but they're working on it. And it's actually a way for you to send a personalized gift code to someone where instead of receiving just cupcakes or wine or swag, they can actually receive and choose a personalized gift. They can choose a gift card to Amazon, they could donate to charity, or they can just say, no thanks. And what do they get for doing any of those things? We book a meeting. We've booked hundreds of meetings with Alyce so far, and we're really excited for what we're going to do moving forward there. Talking about measuring success, we engaged with 825 accounts, 26% of them converted to an opportunity. We drove sales and marketing alignment, spending time with your SDRs. Marketing, if you're not spending time with your SDRs or BDRs, you're losing out. We need to support them. We need to serve them. They have one of the toughest jobs in software sales, coming right out of school or just coming right into the craft. They need to be supported, and you're going to create a great impression for marketing in those careers if you start supporting them early. And we scaled demand quickly. We influenced 5 million plus in pipeline in 2 quarters, and we haven't even updated that number. We created pipeline. It's not just about influencing pipeline when you're marketing. It's about contributing. How are you contributing to the pipeline, and how are you becoming, like James referred to earlier, a revenue marketer? We are committed to being a revenue marketing team at SalesLoft, and that's our first and foremost objective, is serving sales. How do you know if it's working? You've got to figure it out. And guess what? It wasn't really working at the start for us either. You got to figure it out. But how do you know? Target account pipeline. What target account pipeline means is you've got all your company's pipeline, and then you've got the pipeline you really want. So the pipeline that you really want is coming from target accounts. And how do you know that that's working as well? Marketing's engaging with contacts at those target accounts. You can measure the engagement with those contacts at those accounts. And marketing resources are aligned. So basically, marketing resources aligned means you're spending more on those tier 1 opportunities than you are on those tier 3. And definitely more on those tier 3 opportunities than you're spending on those non-target accounts. How do you share the metrics, the accountability, and meet regularly? Target account pipeline measures that shared contribution, sales activities, and marketing influence. So looking at the sales activities that are happening, the marketing activities that are happening, and meeting on a weekly basis and looking at those and saying, we are seeing marketing engagement in these accounts, and we're seeing that you're working these accounts in sales, creating reports and data structures to be able to measure that. Visualizing the impact, we use a tool called Terminus, who recently acquired a tool called Bright Funnel, which is incredibly powerful and is our most effective way of illustrating account-based return on investment. So highly recommend working with our friends over at Terminus. This is a good example of a graph that's available in Terminus. You see the first interaction on Salesforce on your left, and those multiple points of engagement, those orange dots, are actually not just leads, they're marketing engaging with the people on that opportunity. And that's all in Salesforce. You report, so you can very clearly, bless you, you can very clearly be able to show the value that you're delivering throughout the buying process. Success by the numbers. We had 111% higher average opportunity ARR in target accounts versus non. 80% of all of our pipeline created was in target accounts, and 95% of all revenue year to date has been influenced by marketing. So that is what we're looking for when we're talking about aligning with sales. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you, Eric. I'm sure there's lots of questions. What we're going to do is we have our final speaker up, Alice, and then we'll open it up for questions. And then what we tend to do, there's still some drinks afterwards, so you can approach the speakers. I'm sure that hopefully they're hanging around so you can get some advice. Highly recommend you connect with them all on LinkedIn as well. So this next speaker, so we were really lucky to work with UK Cognism from the very beginning, and actually their CEO and founder, James, was the very first person that signed a check for sales confidence. They've had a dramatic upscaling and shift, rebrand. They're absolutely nailing content at the moment. And Alice has really been the driver behind that from a data-driven perspective, but also brand. This is her very first talk tonight, so be kind. Alice, you're up. Round of applause.
Yeah, I was just going to caveat that by saying this is my first time speaking in public, so be kind to me. Okay, so the title of my talk, I think I'm just going to stick with what I know, which is what I've done at Cognism. So I'm going to talk about how we've gone from scattergun to predictable in 6 months, and that is kind of the state that marketing was when I joined and where we are now. So yeah, I think this image kind of represents what I came into. There's a few of the marketing team here, which I hope they'll kind of attest to that. But people were kind of terrified of marketing at Cognism when I joined. We had a few really bad experiences. I think some Pardot automation had been sent off to prospects who shouldn't have been contacted, and so it was all just shut down. All paid was shut off because we found out we didn't actually have any tracking in place. UTM tracking was something no one had ever heard of before. So we were in kind of a bad state. You can see like April 2019, MRR contributed by marketing is kind of small. And it's up and down, and there's not a huge amount of predictability, and we're definitely not growing in the way we want to. So when I joined in May, I guess I had 4 steps that I put in place to get us to a predictability stage. And then in January of this year, you can see like we just brought in 40K of marketing attributed MRR in a month, and that's where we are now. And we are targeted on 50% of the revenue number for the whole business every month from marketing. So that's where we've got to in 6 months. So I'm going to talk to you through the 4 steps to get there. So step 1, I know we already spoke about testing, but it is actually really important in marketing. So track, test, optimize. I think the biggest thing I found when I joined Cognism, and actually even in my interview process with Nazma, was that she was being told by marketers that you can't really track marketing. It's kind of a feeling. And obviously, a lot of us will know that's not true, and you definitely can, and you should be tracking everything. So my first job was just like very simple, UTM tracking in place, and I worked out what's our hierarchy going to be, how are we going to put this into Salesforce, and how are we going to implement it into Pardot, and how are we going to share it with the sales team so that it's in place across all marketing activities. And then feeding into this is before you kind of put that in place, you need to think about the results that you want to drive. So I kind of targeted a few main things that were very important to the business and important to my targets as well. So I wanted a blended cost per acquisition of under 1,500, that would be good, but a blended cost per acquisition of under 1,000 would be much better. We're now at 800, so that's great. We wanted a cost per lead of under $25, a conversion rate of SQO, which is a sales qualified lead, we call them sales qualified opportunities to close one, on direct inbounds of 30%, and a conversion rate of content download to SQO of 10%. And then with those metrics in place, I was able to define the hierarchy that I wanted to put in place. And then I got on to testing. So I think we can all talk about testing and we can implement it across all the different channels that we might use, but we need to put in place like methods of tracking that. We need to make sure that we're testing in a way that's meaningful and that we can really show results and value for our work. So I use Trello for this, and the team uses this ongoing on a weekly basis, and we're creating new tests every day. And the way that we do this is we have a hypothesis testing method. So I've just put on the slide 2 examples of tests that we've run and what we were aiming to achieve, and then sort of comments from me, comments from the marketer of where we got to, and that's where we would end up putting it either success, fail, pause, live. And you can literally go into our paid ads Trello, completely visible for the whole company, and you can see what's live, what's worked, what's not worked, where we spent our money. And I think that's just a really good way of stepping into testing and iterating. And actually the output of all of this was that I sent a couple of the marketers and the team to a LinkedIn workshop. And we didn't know, but they had up in their deck one of our ads, and they were showcasing this on their roadshow as sort of best in class. And that was amazing for us because we preach about the testing, we do the testing, but and we knew we were getting amazing results. We get cost per leads of under $10 for this ad. And I guess it just shows that if you take that approach, systematical testing, you will get the results. So why this ad worked? Well, it addresses the audience in the headline. It's a controversial statement. I mean, the comments on this, when you read them, it's just comedy gold, actually. So go and have a look. And it also, so that brings you social proof, which LinkedIn loves and the algorithm just goes wild for. It's short copy, under 150 characters. Make sure you don't have to read more on your ads. So yeah, I guess my top tip for step one is just never stop testing and always keep optimizing. So we've actually created a role specifically for this now because we know how important it is. And their whole purpose is just to continue to take part on all these tests and find those new channels and ads that work for us. My second step is you need to find your North Star. So for us at Cognism, we found that content is our North Star. We've got our content manager here, Joe, so definitely grab a word with him. But your North Star is something that's consistable, repeatable, and scalable. So I think Cognism's going into a stage of growth where we're all about being efficient. So obviously the paid ads is important. It's important for us to have those acquisition channels. But we want to build something that we can generate a network effect that's going to be scalable, and we can bring down all of our CPAs. So that was the target that I had at the beginning. The reason we get to have that under $800 now is because we've scaled content. So how can you double down on that? So we now have 2 MDRs introduced. So this is a new thing for Cognism. It's brought huge alignment between sales and marketing. And the MDRs are responsible for all marketing-generated requests, whether that be a direct inbound demo request, a content download, and they actually sit on the bank of desks with marketing, so we get a lot of direct feedback from them every day, and that's really important to our process. We've written 40,000 words of a big rock content piece soon to launch, so that will be launching, we hope, next week, and that is Joe's amazing work. And I'm going to come on to how you do that, because it can seem really daunting when you're starting out in a startup or a scale-up. How do you possibly go about doing that or justify doing that when you only have one content writer? And the thing I'd say is just strategically plan out your content calendar and base it on an SEO strategy and have those closer feedback loops with sales. The other thing we did is we introduced a new channel, so we now do regular webinars, and that's worked really well for us. So MVP marketing. I don't know if this is my step 3. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you might not, but it's a product terminology. So it's basically about doing the minimal viable product. And I think when you're in a startup and a scale-up, this is really important, and it's kind of where I come back to from the content perspective. We've ended up with 40,000 word piece of content, which is going to be a published book and an ebook and actually 5 mini books. But it didn't start out that way, and we wouldn't just go about creating it because we thought it was a good idea and on intuition. We needed to just justify that and justify the resource. So set the foundations, create manageable content pieces, blogs, infographics, mini guides, and deliver the value as you go. So litmus test the popularity of that content. You can set it out, as I have on the left. It was just a basic Excel sheet. This is kind of my idea. This was the SEO piece, so we wanted to go after B2B lead generation. That was the term. And we just did some early bird promotions of the gated content. We found there was demand for it. Our blog posts were being read. They were in the top 10. They were getting double the amount of views that we'd ever had. So we knew that this was something that had legs, and so we continued to build on the content throughout the last half of the year. And it was all strategically planned. So every blog post Joe wrote was feeding into this bigger content piece. And so, yeah, here, I think this is a good chart to kind of show it. So these are snippets of some of the 5 books that we're now going to be releasing based on this. And for our term B2B lead generation, you can see the growth that we've managed to establish since August, where we started those blog posts. And that was all based on a strategic SEO piece. And yeah, now we have an 125-page ebook and 5 shorter guides, and we've set some targets because we have to set targets. So we want to get 1,000 downloads, 100 SQOs, 20,000 MRR, and we want to be on page 1 for Google for B2B lead generation in under 2 months. And that will be what success looks like for us. And finally, like my last step, I think this is the most important, is don't forget the low-hanging fruit and get creative. So the other day, I've been interviewing a lot for people to join our team, so we're also hiring. Any campaign execs out there, come talk to me. And actually, like, people coming up with campaigns, they're amazing, but they're sort of very grand ideas, and actually then and great, but we're probably not going to implement them. We can't do it quickly, and we're all about growth, and we have to do things that we can like act on tomorrow almost. So I was like, thought, okay, well, let's just go back to the drawing board. Have we actually done everything we can do to maximize like the most amount of juice from our lemons? Don't know if I can say that, but and there were small things that I found that we could be doing to create a better lead journey, like simple things. So if you use LinkedIn lead gen forms, do you make sure that on the thank you page, do you actually direct them back to your website so that you can then create remarketing audiences from those leads, and you're not losing that traffic? You have to manually upload back in if you want to create a remarketing audience, but you can have an always-on audience. It's a really small thing, but it makes a massive difference, and we've now got conversions on those campaigns running at double what they normally were. So just small things like that, and on your thank you pages from a piece of content, deliver them to the next piece of content that actually is really relevant to them. We have a sales academy running at the moment, and that's worked really well for us. And I find myself, when I go on HubSpot, that I'm ended up in this lead flow that I never even knew I started on. I just wanted to look at one piece of content, and then I'm like down this Warren hole, and I don't know how I got there. But that's kind of the aim. And just if you think about that and the small things you can do to make a difference, I think, you'll be doing well. And finally, I just want to say to get creative. So something we did at Cognism was we were thinking, obviously, we want to put content first, and we do a lot of content, but how can we do it differently and in a way that's going to be really engaging and help us promote our big rock piece of content that's coming up? And we had a team session where we all got together, and this idea for Dude, Where's My Leads cartoon came up. And I pretty much think it's unique. I don't think there's anyone else doing it. So, and actually our video exec just taught herself how to do animation. And it's amazing. So, here you go.
Nazia, I'm worried. No leads, no customers, no revenue. I don't get it. I know we have a great product, but no one knows about us. What can we do?
I know what we need to do, Jim. We need to get some outbound sales started. We need an STR.
Sounds exciting. What kind of person have you got in mind?
Oh yeah, Jim, I know exactly the kind of person we need. They have to be eager to learn and coachable, strong work ethic, and motivated to develop a career in sales.
I like it, but we've never interviewed for this type of role before. How do we know what questions to ask? I guess we'd better Google it. Hey Nazia, look what I've found.
What is it, Jim?
It's this company called Cognism. Sounds a lot like us, doesn't it? They've got a brilliant blog with lots of resources for businesses like ours. And look at this, 10 questions to ask when hiring an SDR. That's just what we need.
Fantastic, Jim. Those are some great questions to ask an SDR candidate. I'll get onto the recruiters right away. Jack, Jim and I will make a decision very soon and we'll get back to you.
Sure, it was great meeting you guys.
Wow, what a brilliant candidate.
Definitely, we have to hire him. He's got all the skills we need, and we wouldn't have found that out without Cognism's questions.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to keep a close eye on Cognism from now on.
That's it.
Well done, Alice. Amazing. Can we have a round of applause for all the speakers? So what I'd like to do now is invite the speakers up for a couple of questions, and then we can go into the networking. Can you just put your hand... Thank you for bringing extra people here. You probably saw my email. Can you put your hand up if you think you got the most engaged post? Because I don't do attribution as well as you guys. Okay, there's a Keen. You did, Kieran. Congratulations. Here's your £100. Come and get it. Thank you. Round of applause. Right. And where did you travel up from today? Where did you travel up from today? And how much did it cost you from Bristol? Oh. That ruins the punchline, but there's £100 towards it. Thanks very much. Can we get the speakers up, please? We're just going to open it up for a couple of questions. There's a huge amount of value. I hope... I mean, look, we're really not going to do this again unless you guys want it to happen. We're very busy with other projects, but if you are keen, then do let us know. This is an opportunity now to learn from these individuals. So do we have a starting question that someone would like to ask? Go on, be brave. Go on.
Cool, yeah, so if you're speaking to this.
Wow, okay, brilliant. Sorry, I didn't remember, Hannah. Who, like you were saying, the detail of work that goes into a rebrand and making the document, but like how many people can keep attention while going through 193 pages? That just stood out to me.
It's our culture deck that's 193, and it's told a bit like a story. It's only like a few words per slide, thank God. But yeah, that sets out our company values. Our actual brand deck that we ended up creating is thankfully only about 8 pages long, and it really kind of sets the guidelines, and we can send it out to third parties who are working for us as well, and hopefully that gets the message across. So yeah.
Next question. Go on.
Question for Lucy. There's some really great examples of your sort of APM thinking outside the box campaigns. I wonder if there's any that you can share where you went outside the box and it just didn't come off.
She nailed them all.
Do you know what? They've always worked. No. Any outlandish campaigns that haven't worked? One of my former colleagues is in the room in here. Have you got an example?
Salespeople stopped us doing one.
Which one was that?
The Dublin one where we wanted to do the 2 lanes outside of the office.
Oh, God, yeah, I remember that. We don't work together anymore, but we work together in 2 previous jobs.
So we wanted to do a bit of a kind of pop-up, I guess, a sort of guerrilla marketing slightly, where the prospect we were targeting, we had one prospect in the whole of Ireland, so we could put a lot of effort into proper account-based marketing, truly one-to-one. So we were going to do this, they could pick to walk down one lane or the other, and the idea was we wanted them to walk down one lane to make them feel like the dedicated channel. I won't get into the telecom side of what it was, but it was the dedicated channel that was specifically for them, and we thought they deserved it. And the sales guy got really nervous that it was just a bit too much, and he didn't want to look silly in front of the client and didn't know how they would respond. They were a utility company, so weren't particularly forward-thinking and modern. So, yeah, he kind of shut us down at the last minute, so we didn't get to do that one. I think that's probably the only one that didn't go right for us.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for making me not.
Yeah, I mean, look, and also I think this is the thing that springs to my mind in terms of marketeers and leaders. You know, you're experimental. This is the cool thing. This is what this network is about, by the way, exchanging ideas. So thank you for sharing that. Is there another question? Yes? Can you throw it? I mean, is that the idea?
Any tips for working with a small budget?
Ooh. You've got a huge budget, Eric.
So I don't have, and I think you used to work at Xactly, didn't you? Yes. You know, because you used to work at the organisation. We didn't cross paths, but we worked at the same organisation. We're all, I would imagine, or the vast majority, I've seen some of the brand names in here. I'm sure that none of us have budgets that some huge brands out there have. And so that's why my presentation here was focusing on getting creative, because actually none of those things cost a lot of money. You know, the airline video was done in-house by somebody that just had a little bit of nous and a little bit of videography skills. Buying the products, I think that we expense them for about £700. And you know, I think that the whole point of my presentation is that we have to get creative, but we have to get creative with very, very small budgets. You know, a lot of our budget goes into the digital, into that top of the funnel lead gen. But as you were saying with your presentation, Eric, you know, the vast majority of the revenue comes from that 5%, and they're the ones that you've got to get in front of, and they're the ones that you can't get in front of when you've got a very small budget. So I've wanted to do, you know, billboard advertising and advertising down the tube. But, you know, if you've got a corporate that's, you know, a Canary Wharf or whatever, and you want to do that advertising when you know that 2,000 of the employees that you're trying to get in front of are there. This is just not feasible for an organisation like mine, which is why further down the funnel, once you've hooked them in with a little bit of a cheaper cost per lead generation activity, you just have some fun with getting creative. We don't have big budgets.
Alice, have you guys are scaling up now?
Yeah, I think that's what the MVP was all about. So what I would say to you is, so okay, I'm just trying to think. If you want to put out a piece of content, you want to create a white paper, for example, and you're not sure you can resource it because you have to get a freelancer to write it, maybe you don't have in-house content, just put together the landing page copy and the title of the white paper and gate it and say, sign up for early bird access. Or just write a LinkedIn post and say, comment if you're interested. See what engagement you get and justify the spend for the content writer after getting that engagement. And you can do that with pretty much everything. And the tests that we run on Google, LinkedIn, we only probably spend about $1,000 on a test. We wouldn't waste more money than that. We can't burn more money than that. So you don't need to get worried about statistical significance. People will talk to you about that all the time. Just use what you have and then use the data you can generate from that to justify what you're going to do.
That's a golden nugget right there. Take note. I mean, to be fair, we would have never have done marketing confidence unless when we put out a post with a hashtag marketing confidence, some of you liked it. I love that idea. Okay, cool. One more question. Is there another final question?
Thanks, James. Michael at Box. So I actually manage recruitment, so it'll be more of a hiring question or a question around, you know, as a marketer in 2020, is there a skill or an expertise or a competency that you think will be in increasing demand in your respective worlds?
The number one thing that I always ask people, no matter their position, if they're in a demand generation role, is do you know how to build a business case? What does a business case include? It includes what you're going to do, the goals that you want to achieve, and how you're going to measure the achievement of those goals. Believe it or not, when you ask people what 3 things a business case should include, I'd say probably 60 to 70% don't know how to answer the question. So really, if you're going to be dealing with any type of project, budget high or low or anything, you know, resources and time and effort is still money spent. And developing a business case to use those resources correctly and appropriately is what I always look for.
I would say that I did, and I'm not afraid to admit it, I did my GCSE maths 3 times. I got an E, and then I got a D, and then I got a C because I couldn't go to university without it. So perseverance is key. But my point here is that I never dreamed that I would be in the numbers as deep as I am now. And I think for anyone that's in a lead generation role in the tech world, where we are revenue leaders just as much as marketing leaders, you need to have a little bit more of a mathematical brain than you think the average marketer will have. We've all been told that marketers are there to make things look pretty. We're not. We are as commercial as the next person. You have to have your nose in the figures. You have to understand how much pipeline you can generate to support the bottom of the funnel for your sales teams. So actually, yes, create creativity is important when you're in marketing. Yes, thinking outside the box, that awful expression is important, but you do need that commercial edge as well. And sales and marketing go hand in hand, and all salespeople are looking at the bottom line, which is numbers and figures.
Thank you. Do we have a round of applause for the speakers, please? This is really exciting. You know, you're here tonight. You kind of might take it for granted. This is the very first time we've done this. There's a lot of opportunity here to network. There was a lot about blog writing. Mike, the writer in the corner, he's been writing our blogs for 2 years. Michael sitting next to him is also a content writer. Can you just put your hand up if you're hiring for someone in marketing so the other people in the room know? Because then you can connect with each other if you're looking for a marketing opportunity discreetly. I get it. Also, just to say, there is a bit of a kind of a customer-facing team here. So, I don't know what we call you because it's sales confidence, but Claire, Daisy Tottenham, who helped put this together, she's at the back there. She runs our PR and comms. Then we've got Tom, Brian, Graham, Alex, who are also running sales. And just to let you know, this idea that I think we're seeing a little bit, marketing is supporting sales to drive revenue, you know, but collectively, marketing is helping sales drive revenue. And so this has been a focus for our conference. We've typically been known for bringing sales leaders together, but we expect 20% of the audience to be marketing leaders at this conference, but we do need your help. So if you can let me know and DM me who we should be getting to speak from a marketing perspective, that would be super, super helpful because we know it's really important to both the sales leaders and the collective revenue leadership. If you are interested, just so you're aware, I think like the VIP tickets are £750 because we've got an after party this year. It's at Old Billingsgate. General tickets are £550. Ticket prices at the moment are £350. However, they persuaded me that as you were the very first marketing confidence attendees, that we should give you a 50% discount. So if you get your ticket tonight and you speak to the guys, you can get it for £250 tonight and it's locked in. So that's our plug, and I highly recommend it because you're going to hear from us anyway. Yeah, so, you know, I would grab it now. The team will be available to talk to. And do genuinely, look, we do want to make this work, but if it doesn't matter to you, we won't do it again. But if you think actually there's value to hear world-class experts, these are all running world-class marketing organizations at scale. If you want to see more of it, you just need to let us know and we will bring it together. But it is on you, if I'm honest. So if you want to see more of this, let us know. Get involved with SaaS Growth, come along. Final round of applause for our speakers. Thank you.